Welcome to the council meeting for Watford Borough Council. For those of you watching via the live stream, my name is Councillor Favour Ezife, and I'm the chairman of Watford Borough Council. Also present today are Peter Taylor and all other councillors for Watford, unless apologies have been received. We are supported today by Donald, the Chief Executive, Liam Hunsby, the Monitoring Officer, Nigel Howard, the Chief Finance Officer, and other officers from Corporate Services. I would like to remind all members to stand when they speak. If you wish to speak or when I ask you to vote, please raise your hand so that the officers and I can see you clearly. We have a very busy agenda, so to help me manage the meeting this evening, if you indicate at the beginning of each item when asked to, if you would like to speak. Only turn your microphone when I invite you to speak. I need to advise that we're not expecting any fire drills this evening. Therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, follow the direction of the Democratic Services Lead Sandra over there and leave as quickly as possible and make your way outside via the fire exits, round the pond where we gather and check everyone is accounted for. Please do not use the lift. If anyone has difficulty using the stairs, please speak to Sandra. Apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Ahmed, Johnson, and Short. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Watkins on his way from Stevenage and was slightly late. He's expected to arrive.
Thank you. Any other apologies? Thank you. Disclosure of interest. Disclosure of interest. Do members have interest to declare or on any of the items on agenda today? Councillor Dyson?
I just wanted to declare interest regards to one of the motions related to Watford General Hospital,
Thank you.
as I'm working there.
Oh, thank you.
The same, I would like to disclose interest in point 11 of the agenda.
Is it the General Hospital?
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just got to declare, because I have done before cabinets, that because one of my daughter's works at Cox's Park, I will obviously leave the room. I'll leave the room at Cox's Park this way.
Thank you.
I just want to mention, for the last 1 year, I haven't worked for the hospital, but sometimes if they call me, so I have to go to the hospital for my mom. So I
Your microphone. Your mic.
So do I have to disclose this thing? Or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
Thank you.
She don't work.
But she doesn't work for the hospital. She's employed by somebody else. She's just in her.
That's fine. Thank you. Minutes of the last council. The members are given to sign the minutes of the council held on the 27th of January. Do we agree? Should I sign?
Great.
Thank you. Official announcements. Related party transactions and register of interest. If any member has not completed their related party transactions or their register of interest, please complete it this evening and hand it over to the monitoring officer. Hard copies have been made available. Take us also copies so that. Thank you. Pre-election period. I would like to remind everyone that the pre-election period begins on 25th March. The monitoring officer has provided written guidance to everyone. If anyone is standing down this year on behalf of the council I would like to thank them for their service for their communities and wish them all the best for the future. Eid al-Fitr marks the end of the holy month of Ramadan, which involves fasting from sunrise to sunset for 30 days. I understand Ramadan will be ending sometime this week, and Eid al-Fitr will begin later this week. On behalf of the council, I would like to wish everyone Eid Mubarak in advance. My events, I wanted to remind everyone that one of my charities, Watford African Caribbean Association, will be marking their 50th anniversary with a gala dinner on the 23rd of May. I hope people have seen the invites. Mayor's report. A report on the mayor is attached to the agenda. Please, can you raise your hand if you wish to ask a question? I will then make a note of all members who wish to ask a question and read it out to make sure I have everyone that has indicated. Please raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. Wow. No question? Okay, Councillor Bird.
Yes, we got some councillor, yeah.
Councillor Bird.
Oh, thank you, Chair.
Sorry. Just a second. If you'd like to present your report.
Thank you, Chairman, and also have to answer any questions on the report. There is just one update. So on page 14 of the report, it mentions the Watford Borough Council has been shortlisted for 2 prestigious national awards. One of them is for effectiveness and efficiency, one was for green public service. And I'm pleased to announce that we've won both of those awards.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I would like to remind every questioner that you have 1 minute per question. There will be no statements or supplementaries except for Councillor Bell as the leader of the opposition, who may ask supplementary questions. Councillor Suleiman.
I appreciate the Holywell Park Run initiative. The success of the Holywell Park Run shows that there is a clear demand for the accessible outdoor and sporting opportunities in Holywell. I hope that in the future sports facilities such as paddle courts will not be limited to North Watford, but will also be introduced in the Holywell area of West Watford.
Thank you to the Council for that question. I agree that it's really positive that we have the new Hollywell Park Run. I know that Councillor Williams and myself were there for the first of those. They've had a really good number of people there. I don't accept the premise of a question about only supporting North Watford. So in that park, it was Watford Council that invested in the new cycle hub in the time that I've been mayor. We also had the outdoor kind of mini town that we've invested in. In the budget that we passed just a few weeks ago, we agreed funding for a new cricket pitch in King George V. So we have invested in parks right across the town. We've got 17 green flag parks, one of them, of course, being that park. So I think it's really great that we've done that. And if this party continues leading the council, we'll continue investing in our parks and sports facilities right across Watford.
Thank you, Chair, and also may I add my congratulations to our hard-working staff and workforce for the 2 awards. Would the Mayor agree with me that potholes and the state of our roads generally are one of the most important issues to our residents all across Watford at the moment, going certainly by my emails and my door knocking, and I'm sure probably to you as well?
I agree with him. Potholes are really important. It's such a key thing that's brought up by our residents. Our roads aren't in a good enough condition and they need more investment. I think one thing that's particularly unhelpful is when you have that situation where you need improvements to our highways, is to cut the funding for our county council by £42 billion, which is what the Labour government has done. So if the Labour government wants better roads, they need to give councils the money to deliver those better roads.
Thank you for that, and it's interesting that you raised that, because of course there's been a pothole fund that the Labour government introduced last year, well in fact after this recent budget and the one before, 166 million. So that money actually, you're right, could be used and should be used properly by the Highways County Council. Of course, my follow-up was going to be that can he agree that it's important to point out to our residents whose responsibility potholes and the highways is when explaining how they can report potholes and highway faults? And that obviously since last May, as he said, his party, the Liberal Democrats, have been in control of highways and the fixing of potholes. So we do need to make that clear, and I'm sure you will, and all of you here, all you Liberal Democrats will make that clear, that while you may say that you want more money from the government has provided a special pothole fund this year and last year, and at least across the town they will know that the responsibility for potholes is the Liberal Democrat run county council. Thank you.
Sometimes there's an election coming up. All I'll say is, if you look at independent evidence, I hope you read that magazine.
Fantastic, word for word.
The government, independent people who look at the state of our roads reckon that we need billions of pounds. So across the whole country, the figure that I was said was we need 17 billion pounds to get our roads up to the right standard, which obviously is a huge amount of money. The government has announced, as you mentioned, funding. What they announced, they've announced 7 billion. Okay, that's great, that's progress. It's less than half the money that we actually need. So I agree with him that we need better roads. But to deliver those, we need to see councils, county councils getting the funding so they can deliver those improvements. I would pay tribute to the team at the county council. They have massively increased the funding for this area. They've increased the number of people out there. There are 14 teams out every day fixing potholes. We should be working together to see that improvement. But I don't think that Labour politicians should be lecturing us about it when they're actually cutting funding for the county council, who are the ones responsible for the roads.
Not the highways.
Thank you. Questions by members of the council. No written questions have been received. Questions by members of the public. No questions was received. No petitions have been received. Urgent business. There's no urgent business tonight. The next item that we will go to is Vice Chair of Watford Borough Council. A report of the Democratic Services League has circulated with the agenda. I'm now inviting my teller to confirm his nomination for Councillor Summer. You have up to 7 minutes.
Right, so you've got 7 minutes to talk about Councillor Summer, which I'm delighted. I'm actually delighted about. I would just like to say how pleased I am that Councillor Summer is going to take on this role. I was mulling over today, when was the first time I met Sam? I couldn't quite remember. But I do remember years ago, before I was a councillor, some of you may remember, he won a very special award as the Mayor's Audentia Award winner. And it wasn't actually me who chose him, it was a vote of residents in the town. And Sam is someone who has made a massive difference to Watford for many, many years. Obviously, you'll know him from the leisure centre, but it's also someone who's out in the community, day in, day out, doing great things with different groups and different community centres. And one of the many things I love about Sam is just his general positivity. It's always glass half full. It's always about a can-do attitude, or how can you improve this town and this neighbourhood. So I suspect you're going to be our first Iranian civic mayor, which all of us will be know that it's a really difficult situation in that country at the moment, and all of us are hoping and praying for that to improve. Sam, you're a brilliant husband, dad, everything about you is so fantastic. I think we all need to be a little bit more Sam Peaty, and we're going to have probably the final ever civic mayor will be Sam for Watford Borough Council, and I can't think of anyone better to do it. So congratulations, and I'm delighted to be nominating you for this role.
We have another party. Can I ask Councillor Patterson to confirm? She's second.
Yes, and actually, if it's okay, Favour, I'd like to speak, because circumstances might mean that I'm not able to attend annual council in May. So I'd like to make my speech about Sam now. If my colleagues will allow me, and I know we all want to go home, so I will take my 5 minutes. So it's both a privilege and a genuine pleasure to second the nomination of Councillor Sam Summer for Vice Chair and in due course Chair of Council for the coming civic year. Sam, I don't know whether you remember, but when you asked me to second your nomination, you said it really mattered to you to be supported by people that you look up to. And I want to say very clearly in front of all of our colleagues that that respect is entirely mutual. It's an honour to stand here and second your nomination. Alongside Sam, you know the qualities that he brings are integrity, commitment, but the one that sticks out most is energy, and that energy is truly infectious. Perhaps it comes as no surprise being a personal trainer, but it's not just physical energy, it's a genuine enthusiasm for people, for services, and for getting things done. He brings people with him, and that really matters. Sam works collaboratively, listens carefully, and approaches everything he does with openness and sincerity, and these are exactly the qualities that we should want in someone chairing our council. But beyond that, Sam represents something even more important. At a time when the world can feel increasingly uncertain, when division and hostility often dominate, it matters that our local leadership reflects something better, something more hopeful, something driven by liberal values. Sam embodies that. His approach is open, respectful, and rooted in a belief that people can work together even when they disagree. That is the kind of leadership that strengthens communities and restores faith in public service. I want to acknowledge on a personal level that this is not an easy time for Sam and his family. While I won't stray into the tragic and deeply concerning situation in the Middle East, it's only right to recognise, in the face of difficulty and uncertainty beyond our borders, Sam continues to serve his community with dedication and positivity, and that speaks volumes about his character. Sam, I have no doubt that your family will be immensely proud of you. I will continue to pray for peace and for their safety and security, and I'm confident that this council will be equally proud to have you as its vice chair and future chair. And on a slightly personal note, I very much hope that I'll have the good fortune of being re-elected in May, so I can be here to support you in the role of vice chair and then chair, and watch you truly shine in what may be this council's final civic year. It gives me great pleasure to second your nomination.
Thank you. Councillor Sano, would you like to say a few words?
Give me a moment, please.
Yes.
I'm drowned in so much love and so much trust. Try to keep it short, already emotional. But I remember just over 20 years ago, as I was on a boat to this country, I'm looking at these beautiful white cliffs, and I would never ever guess to be in this space and in a situation I can serve Watford Town residents. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sano. Nani? Okay. Councillor Dudley.
Yeah, just to add, sorry, am I allowed to speak now?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add our tribute, obviously, support from the Labour group here. Obviously, you've been through a long and difficult journey, and pay tribute to that. And just good luck, and we wish you luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no other nominations, in accordance with the Vice Chairman procedure rules, I confirm that Councillor Sam Summer will be the Vice Chairman of Watford Borough Council for 2026-27. The formal appointment will take place at Annual Council on Tuesday, 19th May. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does the council agree to note the appointment of Councillor Sam Summer as Vice Chair 2026-27? All those in favor?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The recommendation is carried. Thank you. Yay. Motions. So we have 4 motions this night. So as usual, we're going to be respectful of the time, and we try not to repeat what another person has said, so that we can go through all of them. So 4 motions have been received under Procedure Rule 13. We will go through them in order of receipt. I will remind all councillors that the mover of the motion has up to 7 minutes, with a right to reply of up to 3 minutes. Everyone else has up to 5 minutes and may only speak once. So the first motion that we discuss this night is relocation of Mount Vernon Hospital to Watford. And this motion has been proposed by Councillor Glenn Saffrey and seconded by Mayor Peter Taylor. Details are contained in the agenda. I will now invite Councillor Saffrey to move the motion. You have up to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to move this motion, which means a lot to me, as I know it will to colleagues in this room and to so many across our town. In fact, there is unlikely to be anybody listening today whose life has not been affected in some way by the cruelties of cancer. The shock and numbness of diagnosis, the uncertain and often grueling nature of treatment, and the tragedy of loss. That is why the opportunity that presents itself in these proposals to bring a purpose-built, state-of-the-art cancer treatment centre to the heart of our town, delivered alongside our much-needed new hospital, is so golden. Cancer care has improved dramatically in recent decades, but in doing so, it has become vastly more complex. Cases of advanced disease that were once a death sentence can now be treated. NHS staff can work life-saving miracles, but they require the best possible conditions to do so. The current Mount Vernon site lacks the infrastructure to provide these conditions. A modern purpose-built facility is essential, and it is essential that this shares its home with Watford General Hospital. This much is not a matter of politics, it is a medical reality supported by hard evidence, a strong business case, and most crucially by the clinical teams who do such incredible life-saving work. The benefits to patients of a new cancer centre linked directly to acute services at Watford General are enormous. UCLH, who would run the centre, are famed for world-class research. The new facility would be able to host national and international clinical trials, giving local patients early access to life-saving new treatments at the first opportunity. Highly specialised therapies like the brachytherapy, which successfully treated my dad's prostate cancer at Mount Vernon, would be available to more local people with different forms of the disease. Some treatments, such as for blood cancers, are no longer offered at Mount Vernon, but the new centre will be able to reopen these services to address these issues and cut travel times for patients who often have to travel into central London at present. The political case here is equally unanswerable. Investment in our new hospital is so long overdue, as we all know. The new cancer centre can be delivered in tandem with the rebuild of Watford General, making it even more urgent for the government to bring forward the timetable for this reconstruction and belatedly fulfil the promises they made to Watford residents at the last election. The consultation on these proposals is now open. Our motion commits the Council to an official response in favour of the proposal, which will make all of these points, and I encourage local residents, as well as colleagues here tonight, to submit their own responses. The best modern cancer care needs constant, fast-paced collaboration between professionals from multiple disciplines. In turn, they need to be supported by a complicated network of medical infrastructure and technology, particularly acute intensive care and post-operative services. The sorts of opportunities we have to deliver this only present themselves once in a generation, perhaps once in a lifetime. We must do all we can to support the delivery of the new Mount Vernon Centre at Watford General. It is no exaggeration to say that it will save and change lives for generations to come. Thank you for supporting this motion.
Thank you. Can I invite Mentala to second? We have up to 5 minutes.
I'd like to second and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Are there any amendments to this motion? Does anyone wish to speak on the motion? Thank you. So I have Councillor Bashi, Councillor Bell, and Councillor Sharp. So should we start with Councillor Bashi?
Thank you very much, Chair. So I want to briefly focus on the wider opportunity presented by the proposed relocation of Mount Vernon Cancer Services to Watford. Bringing those specialist cancer services alongside Watford General Hospital would clearly strengthen the healthcare provision for patients across Hertfordshire and North London. Integrating a regional cancer centre with a major acute hospital makes clear clinical sense and would improve how services work together for patients. But if these services come to Watford, there is a very obvious point that must be made and addressed. Watford General Hospital urgently needs investment and rebuilding. Residents were repeatedly told that a new hospital would be delivered. During the last election campaign, Labour politicians locally and including our current MP made those promises. Yet the reality now is that the timeline has slipped dramatically, with the completion potentially pushed back until 2038 or even beyond. That simply cannot be a timetable for the town of Watford's size and importance. What makes this even more frustrating is that Watford Borough Council has already done the hard work to make this project possible. Over many years, Liberal Democrat administrations have prepared the site for redevelopment. Land has been cleared and made available after difficult legal battles. Outline planning permission has been secured. Thomas Sawyer Way has been delivered to improve access to the site, and the new multi-million-pound storey car park has been built. In other words, the project is shovel-ready. What we now need is this government to give the green light and bring the timetable forward. We need our local MP to be championing this case in Parliament with the same determination that the Liberal Democrat Deputy Leader Daisy Cooper has so eloquently shown in standing up for Watford's hospital and the investment our community deserves. So yes, I welcome the proposal to bring Mount Vernon's cancer services to Watford. But if Watford is the right place for a regional cancer centre, then it is certainly the right place to finally deliver the long-promised rebuild of Watford General Hospital. The groundwork has been done, the site is ready, now the government must deliver. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. As a child and also sister and relative of people who are being affected by cancer, I ask to support this motion because it's not just for the people who are affected by cancer, but the families. Because not having a place where you can be screened in advance, you cannot receive the right treatment and you cannot be treated in a human way, you will find yourself in a very bad situation, but also your family will be shaken and will not have anything to hold on. And so please support this motion to give all the people and all the family the right support they need during that difficult time.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you. I do echo what has been said, particularly by Councillor Bashir, but also by other colleagues. I think that when we were first embarking on the project to revitalise and improve the access to Watford General in order to enable it to be the acute services hospital and continue to have a significant role in healthcare provision in West Parts. There were great hopes that it would be a fulcrum for more than just the services that are there now, but it could provide and carry out a much wider role. And this is certainly an opportunity, having, as people will know, in our own family, had to access cancer services. I can agree with Councillor Safri that things have massively moved on. So things that would have been killers just a few years ago are now capable of being treatment. And it's almost like a miracle. But we are actually, this is being done in not substandard, I'm sure it meets basic standards, but in less than optimal campuses and healthcare buildings, particularly as we ended up doing a lot of visits to Mount Vernon, which of course is not a particularly sustainable or accessible location. And it would be, that too would be about an improvement for things coming to Watford. The one thing I will say, is that I can remember when we were conceiving the health campus in 2004, somebody said that they had a brother or relative and they had started their career after leaving university involved in trying to build a hospital, and it was only just about built when they retired 35 years later. And I thought, this is crazy, this will never happen here. but this is the reality, is the best we seem to be on schedule for at the moment is a hospital built 35 years after it was originally conceived. So this really, this really absolutely can't come too quickly. Bringing the things together is a very positive thing for Watford. The delays are to be deplored, and it is right that we have done, as part of our bargain, share of the bargain, building better access to the hospital to enable it to continue the healthcare function, enabling land to be available, and actually, dare I say, it is in government providing the funding to make the road possible at a time when the hospital was not able to, we were short of funding, and Watford Council lending money to the health authority to do that. So we have done our bit consistently over that time. This is a massive opportunity, but it really does have to be delivered, and any delay, any further delay in getting this into the state-of-the-art hospital is, it can't come soon enough. We were actually there on Saturday, and I was looking at the buildings and thinking, where does this remind me of? And the place it reminded me of is Cassio College, where I was a student in the 80s in the healthcare. But the thing about Cassio College, it was demolished 10 years ago so that they could have a better building, and a better, which they now have. But we don't have that for our hospital. We need that for our hospital, and we need it if we're going to have this centre, not only of the services that are there now, but the cancer services from Mount Vernon too.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for all the other contributions, all very good, and I understand, I think Councillor Saffrey and Father and others who've made important contributions. And I would say, and I'm sure this council supports the enabling works and the funding that the Labour government has put into the new hospital at the moment for Watford. But we recognise that the so-called plans left by the last Conservative government were nothing of the sort. And the money did run out, as you all know, in March 2024. Or are you believing what the Conservatives told you? I don't know. Anyway, of course, the Labour Council for the 30 years from 1972 to 2002, as Councillor Sharp will remember, followed through Labour nationally in always putting the National Health Service first, as it was the Labour government who, of course, introduced the NHS in 1948, probably Labour's proudest and most important achievement, including fighting and campaigning to keep an A&E hospital here in Watford, and I'm sure members will remember the Save Our Hospital campaign in the late 90s, 97, 98, 99, led by our MP Claire Ward at the time, and with much support, in fact, across party lines at the time. So it's very important we all continue in that tradition, to keep pushing as finances become available and to try and get the hospital started as soon as possible, as others have said here. Now separately, but now coincidentally, after many years, we've finally seen the consultation taking place regarding the future of Mount Vernon. Councillor Sharp talks about the state of Watford Hospital, or the state of Mount Vernon. I remember going to Mount Vernon, I think when my grandmother was knocked over in 1970, and it was bad enough then, and everyone said this was left over from the war, and you can see how bad it is, but it still has been respected, the plastic surgery and the surgeons there, and obviously the cancer centre, being admired all around. Now, Watford hadn't been down as the place where the cancer centre would transfer to initially, but for a long time now it has been. And as I say, at the County Council, I've been on the County Health Scrutiny Committee for the last 5 years, and Mount Vernon has kept coming up as an issue due to the 50% usage by Herts residents, and many obviously from Watford. Now I'm a substitute on that Joint Scrutiny Health Committee, but it's very important that we work with councillors and officers from the local health authorities and the other authorities, including Brexit, Harrow, Buckinghamshire, and others. I remember questioning Jessamine Kinghorn, then the head of partnerships and engagement at NH England a couple of years ago, about the cost of the new site. She said then it was 272 million, and we're probably, another 100 million on top of that now with building inflation. And when you add that in to the cost of the Watford Hospital as well at the same time, we're probably looking at $1 billion with the two. But it does make sense if we can work for the two new hospitals, remembering we're probably looking, as I say, for that $1 billion, and we need to work on behalf of Watford and South West Herts residents. On the question of the cancer plan, I mean, thanks to the recent Labour government's record investment in our NHS since the first budget, 3/4 of patients diagnosed from 2035, this is looking long term, will be cancer-free or living well after 5 years. Now, this will require investment, modernisation, and a focus on results, but it will mean that the fastest rate of improvement in outcomes for cancer patients this century, and it could save 320,000 more lives over the course of the plan, and that's 15 to 20 years. But with us, every patient will receive a tailored support plan covering treatment, mental health and employment. The plan sets out a major expansion of robot-assisted surgery, faster diagnostics / delays. This is all because of the cancer plan that was brought in by, obviously, the Secretary of State, West Street in last year. Faster diagnostics, a 2.3 billion investment across the country that should deliver 9.5 million additional tests by 2029. And I think that's the key thing, that the investment for the government, bringing in these new technologies, so that we hope that we do get that, not just the cancer hospital, which we all want, and which, as I say, has now become hopefully a good reality for Watford, rather than it going somewhere else, which it was going to until about 4 or 5 years ago. But most of the time, in the last few years, it's mainly been about coming to Watford. So, as I say, I certainly support this tonight. I mean, I could go into all the arguments. We've had a few hinted. Obviously, Councillor Bashir again, talking about the time. Now, we've been in power, this government, for what, 20 months? 18 months, 20 months? Yeah, okay. If you want to go back to the equivalent, I think in 2010, the Liberal Democrat Conservative coalition, we've been about, what, midway through 2011? In the end, there was no new hospital built with the influence of the Liberal Democrats in those 5 years, from 2010 to 15. So, all right, we've had a year and a half now, but there was no hospital built then. So, you know, give us a chance, give us the 5 years. We are pushing to try and get the investment to get this started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I now invite Teller to.
Thank you, Chairman, for that. I agree with obviously a lot of contributions that have been made earlier, particularly the points around. I think it's important that we all remember that it's the clinicians themselves who are really supportive of this and improvements that will make to cancer services. We had an interesting kind of history lesson, potted history from Councillor Bell. I think we always hear about Labour sort of established the NHS. I think we should remember that it was based on a report by that great Liberal William Beveridge, who wrote during the Second World War. I'm sure Councillor Shop will have to discuss his impact. One of the things, I know whenever we discuss the hospital that Labour are really keen to talk about is a coalition. I think we should remember that during that period, and I've asked many times Labour politicians to produce this, where was the funding agreement? Where were the designs? Because we're told that the coalition scrapped something, but it's difficult to scrap something that was kind of a vague aspiration, I think, of Peter Mandelson at the time. The second thing that Labour then do is they start saying, oh, you imagine the coalition. It reminds me a little bit of a parent when you tell one of your kids off, and one of them says, oh, well, he started it. And it's a really weak argument for children to give. It's even a weaker argument for Labour politicians to use repeatedly. During the coalition, we actually had the bottle and the nerve to criticise some of the things the coalition have been doing. I've yet to hear Labour politicians in Watford have the guts to ever criticise Labour. And they can decide, our MP can decide, is he going to be Watford's voice in Westminster? Or is he going to be Keir Starmer's spokesperson in Watford? I think the time deserves someone who's actually got the balls to support Watford. I support this motion. I think it's a great thing that we're looking to move cancer services. I think it's better for patients across the region. It's an opportunity now to bring this forward. We've waited many years. 2038 is clearly too long a time frame. And all of us united should be prepared to make that case and point out that Labour's decision to delay the hospital isn't good enough for anyone.
No,
Thank you, Chair. Just to sum up, I welcome all the support for the motion. Welcome also the cancer plan that the Councillor Bell mentioned actually. But some of the problems with the current Mount Vernon site are exemplified in the ambitions that the plan has and the things that it seeks to address. So it means that failure to act on this opportunity to build a new hospital at Watford General with the cancer centre attached would actually mean that the National Cancer Plan is likely to fall short on what it wants to do. the business case for the cancer centre is enhanced by the rebuild and the delivery alongside Watford General. My understanding is the contracts and procurement would all be done together. That's the ambition. So it's doubly important that we all stand foursquare behind this. And whatever the position has been in the past, the government has to look again at the timetable for this and bring it forward. The two things just can't be seen as two. It's one of the vagaries of the NHS that some bits deliver one thing and different trusts. But this has to be seen as one thing, one opportunity, one new, once in a generation opportunity. And I think it's really important that we all make that point constantly that this is something that has to be delivered, it has to be delivered now. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. We now need to vote for the motion. All those in favour, please. Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Thanks. So our second motion is on. Our second motion is on rezoning Watford stations to Zone 6. It's been proposed by Councillor Stokesbury and seconded by Councillor Mann. Can I invite Councillor Stokesbury to the motion?
Thank you, Chairman and fellow councillors. Apologies in advance, I've got a cold from my daughter's nursery, so I'll get through this as best I can. So before we dive into the motion proper, I just want to start with a heartfelt thank you. We've already had literally thousands of signatures in support of the campaign we're running on this. So thank you very, very much. I really hope that having almost 3,000 residents having signed up a petition already makes this campaign and this call for action impossible to ignore. That's 3,000 voices telling us that the current system that we experience is unfair. That's 3,000 commuters, students, families who feel quite rightly that they're being unfairly treated. I'm also especially grateful to those people who have signed the petition behind this motion, that they're signing it despite the fact that we've tried this campaign before and were quite curtly dismissed by the Mayor of London and TfL previously. But because we've got a new government, we thought it was time to attempt this campaign again because the situation that we currently have is unfair. The reality facing our residents is a geographical and financial absurdity. Right now, Watford stations, the lot of them are a mess of inconsistent zoning, and as my colleague Mark will talk about in his speech, I'm sure, through his freedom of information request, we know there's no structured plan for how to address zoning policy in and around TfL areas. Why is a Watford resident paying so much more than others? Why are our residents paying over £1,000 more per year than those who live in Zone 6? In 2026, with the cost of living crisis still biting and many employers pushing people for a return to the office, this isn't just a minor annoyance, it's a significant drain on disposable income of our community so they can invest in their families, invest in their homes, and spend in our town. This motion is about fairness. By rezoning all Watford stations and Bushy Station to Zone 6, we put more money back into our residents' pockets at a time they desperately need relief in their households. We support the environment. We make it cheaper for people to travel and to travel on public transport and make it more of a natural choice to travel more sustainably. We boost our economy, like I mentioned. More money in people's pockets in Watford mean that they can invest, they can spend in our town, and we can see that right across our local economy. And most importantly, I want to make the point, it's just about fairness. Fair fares to Watford. Why are people in Epping or Elstree and Bournemouth, similar distances to London as Watford, already enjoying the benefits of Zone 6? Why is there no plan to address the geographical nonsense of the current situation? So we're calling on the elected mayor to write to a series of people, and there's some comments in the amendment for involving more. But the point is we want to write to the Secretary of State for Transport, the Commissioner of TfL and the Mayor of London and demand immediate action. We don't want to see any delays again to this most sensible rezoning of Watford stations. I think the amendment's going to be introduced, but just to say we're happy to accept that amendment for the most part, except there is one section which we've discussed removing, which basically cites that we should look at a much wider change to the network. Our point is that we want to make sure there's nothing that delays this activity. We want to see Watford Station rezoned as quickly as possible without a potential shield for ministers to say, oh, but we have to review a wider network first. We think this is unfair for Watford now, and we want to see it change immediately. So thank you for your support in advance for this motion, and I look forward to hearing the discussion. Thank you.
So it seems that the amendment was accepted.
I was advised by Sandra that we should discuss it when they propose it.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Hoffman, would you like to second the motion?
Yeah, sure. I'll speak now. That's okay.
Okay.
So Watford's community is being systematically failed by a fare system that is outdated, inconsistent, and fundamentally unfair. A recent Freedom of Information request has exposed something truly alarming. Transport for London has no formal zoning policy, no framework, no consistent rationale, and no accountability. And yet my constituents in Ascot and across Watford are forced to pay the price for that failure every single day. Let me be clear, the absence of a zoning policy is not just an oversight, it is a scandal, because accountability matters. It is what ensures decisions are not hidden behind closed doors, but open to scrutiny, challenge and improvement. And right now that accountability is simply not there. This campaign is about exposing exactly that, highlighting the gaps, the inconsistencies and the sheer unfairness of how Watford stations have been treated and securing a fair deal our constituents deserve. That's why Daisy Cooper MP, Deputy Leader of the Democrats, is taking his fight to Parliament, securing a ministerial statement and demanding action from the government. And let us be absolutely clear about responsibility. The government is in Labour hands, City Hall is Labour, Transport for London is also under Labour control. There's no ambiguity here, there's no one else to blame. The Department for Transport oversees national rail policy and funding. The Mayor of London oversees TfL. The system is now increasingly under public control, so there are no excuses. Since the pandemic, the government has provided around £6.5 billion in support to TfL. In the 2024 autumn budget alone, it committed another £500 million in capital funding. The government therefore has the power, it has the leverage, and with rail services now effectively nationalised, has the means to act without delay. So why hasn't it? Because let us not forget, before the last election, clear promises were made to the people of Watford that this issue would be fixed. Nearly 2 years on, those promises have been completely broken. Instead, what have commuters seen? Fares rise in December, fares rise again in March. Roadback statements show that costs are rising by over 7% in just 3 months. At a time of immense financial pressure, this is simply unsustainable, and it is kind of counterproductive. As my colleague, Councillor Ian Stokes mentioned, this risks costs, pushing people away from public transport altogether, undermining both economic growth and our climate commitments. Watford residents are not staying silent. Nearly 3,000 people have signed a petition demanding change. The message is clear, consistent, impossible to ignore. The system is not working. And what are Watford commuters getting in return for these eye-watering fares? What improvements have we seen in Watford Junction? Where are the new platforms? Where are the new accessible units? Where's the modern station entrance that's been promised for decades? For over half a century, people of Watford have been told to wait. Enough is enough. So today we're calling for immediate action. Transport for London must carry out a full and urgent review of Watford stations and their zoning, and that review must deliver one clear outcome: reclassification of Watford stations into Zone 6. Watford commuters have waited long enough. It's time for Labour to stop making excuses, start to fix this, or move aside for people who really care about Watford commuters.
Thank you. Do any member wish to move for amendment to this motion? Thank you, Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just astounded by that speech by Councillor Hoffman. I'll talk about wormholes and things like that. I think that speech was a bit odd, dare I say. Like many councillors, I understand why this issue resonates with residents. The cost of commuting into London is high, and many Watford residents feel that the current zoning system is inconsistent and unfair. That concern is legitimate, and it's right that we raise it. However, the motion before us is too narrow in its approach. If we are serious, and the key word is serious, and not politicise this about transport fairness, we can't simply look at small numbers of stations, as the motion mentioned, and ignore the wider network that serves our town. Watford is served not only by stations listed in the motion, we also have Watford North and Garston, which are used daily by our residents. These stations are part of the same transport ecosystem and must be included in any meaningful conversation about zoning. There is also another important issue. If we simply rezone Watford stations without considering the stations between Watford and the current Zone 6 boundary, we risk creating what transport planners call a fair wormhole. In simple terms, you could end up with a situation where travelling from Watford into central London becomes cheaper than travelling from Watford stations, say, to Carpenter's Park. That would create a distortion in fares. Simply, that is clearly unfair to neighbouring communities. It would be extremely difficult for Transport for London to justify. So stations such as Carpenter's Park, Rickmansworth and Moore Park sit on those same corridors. Any credible, and that's a key, the credible review of the zoning must take these stations into account. That leads on to the next step. Finally, transport planning does not sit with the borough boundaries. It doesn't. Herts County Council is a transport authority. This issue is a transport issue. And neighbouring councils such as Three Rivers and Hertford will inevitably be affected by any change. So, if we want it to be taken seriously by the government and Transport for London, we must show that Watford is approaching this issue collaboratively and responsibly, not some political, I'm afraid it's nonsense that you are spewing. That is why this amendment simply strengthens the motion. It ensures that all Watford stations are recognised and a wider corridor is considered, and regional partners and partnership work with the county council, with borough councils, with the TfL, with the mayor, with the Department of Transport is essential. If we want a fair deal for residents, we need a serious transport solution, not a partial one. I therefore ask members to support this amendment, and I'm quite happy to take out that issue about strategic plan, which is in the long term, when we've got local government reform happening, and the new council may actually strengthen that call for a rezoning. Thank you. I ask you to support this particular amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stokes, please you confirm that you accept.
We did discuss before, but I was advised by Simon to have this process happen. But yeah, we're happy for the amendment with the removal of the lines that Councillor Carnes just indicated, and we've made Sandra aware of. So yes, we accept the motion. The amendment.
And Councillor Khan, you happy with
Yes,
that?
we're all happy, yeah.
Thank you. So should we debate the amended motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, so I would like to invite members to speak on the amended motion.
Second.
Sorry. No, what's his name? Councillor, who is seconding the amended motion? Councillor Bell. Sorry.
Be second amendment.
Go for it.
I second.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to second Labour's amendment to the main motion. And I think it just makes sense, it's consistent, and as Councillor Khan says, it brings in the other areas. It makes sense to write to the Herts County Council, with the Highway Authority, should that be easy enough to do. And it also to bring all the other, it's quite right to mention those other stations. I'm surprised that Watford, North and Garston weren't mentioned in the original motion, obviously part of Watford last time I heard. So it does make sense, and I just, I won't say more than that. I mean, we're happy to support you on this. And as you say, the quicker it goes through, the council stops to be said, hopefully we can get some sort of action. Thank you.
Thank you. So does any other person want to speak on the motion, the amended one?
Shall I sum up really quickly?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, colleagues. So just to say on stations outside of Watford, absolutely supportive of the principle. Thank you for raising it. The point about the motion is that we're seeking a review to do exactly that, but we take the point and we're happy to have it in the text. Collaboratively, again, as Councillor Mark Hoffman already mentioned, we've already worked with a number of neighbouring authorities, including had this raised in Parliament. So just to say, I'm really pleased that Daisy Cuba has raised this on our behalf. So there is already an initiative to try to work in the wider sense on that. And indeed, I've already raised it with colleagues in neighbouring authorities, but grand. And on Watford North and Garston, yes, absolutely. I use Watford North all the time myself. I'm a huge supporter of the Abbey line. The point was just indicating the crazy and inconsistentness of the zones and using the stations listed as an example. But we accept the point. And thank you, colleagues, for the support. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I invite all those in favor? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. So our third motion is supporting Watford's hospitality industry. This motion has been proposed by Councillor Callum Robertson. Welcome to Council. And seconded by Mayor Peter Taylor. Councillor Robertson, you can move the motion for up to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be substantially briefer than that. Good evening, Council. I want to begin by paying tribute to our town's hospitality industry, whether it be the Tudor Cafe for a pre-campaign breakfast, the Tudor Arm for a post-campaigning pint, or maybe any other pub in Watford for a commiseration for Scotland when Councillor Sharp and I disappointed after the weekend. And Councillor Clappington. Our pubs, cafes and restaurants offer so much to our residents. Similarly, the business-friendly approach of the led Watford Borough Council has meant that a range of major hospitality firms, such as Wetherspoons or Hilton Hotels, have made Watford their home. But let's make no bones about it. The hospitality industry is core to who we are as a town and intrinsic to our economic success. However, when I'm speaking with business owners and customers, it's really clear that the cost of living crisis is providing a real challenge to the continued success of our town's hospitality sector. I was inspired to bring this motion because of a gentleman I met whilst canvassing in the Tudor by-election. He said that he liked going to the pub with his friends. He was struggling to make ends meet. As a result, he and his friends couldn't go out, and the sense of loneliness was creeping in. That's not something that's fair on our residents and not something we should be willing to accept in our society. The British Beer and Pub Association did some polling just 6 months ago in October. They found that 2 in 3 people realised there is a link between pubs closing and rising loneliness. This goes beyond just our town, and Watford is thankfully backed the national trend in pub closures. But there is more we can do to arrest the decline in across our country of restaurants, pubs and clubs. Therefore, we're asking the government to show courage and do the right thing and help our ailing hospitality industry by undertaking 3 tasks. Firstly, a break in employer national insurance contributions to give the hospitality sector the space to grow without impacting staff wages. Changing the broken business system to give businesses with an in-person presence the chance to have a break and grow. And a temporary cut to VAT and alcohol duties, which will allow pubs to pass the savings on to customers, meaning that more people will be able to enjoy a quiet night out, even though busy night. However, with this motion, we in Watford are also committing to do our bit with a working group focused on producing a town centre action plan to help support our hospitality industry and nighttime economy. We are merely asking for the government to step up and support the hospitality industry too. This will help unlock growth in our town and our country by giving our pubs, clubs and restaurants a fair deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite Senator to second the motion?
Thank you. I'd like to second the second.
Thank you. Do any members wish to move any amendments to this motion? Does anyone wish to speak on this motion? Thank you. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Robertson, for bringing this motion to us. Well, I don't particularly thank you for reminding me of the events of Saturday's record. On St Patrick's Day, I'm tempted to channel the phrase of that great Irishman, Oscar Wilde, and say that if there's one thing worse than having a very vibrant late night economy, it's not having a vibrant late night economy. anybody tempted to despair might reflect that as they go down the high street, it's a lot better than in 1991 when I was first elected, when I can remember walking down back to home from meetings here and finding that any time after 6 o'clock it was entirely deserted. Well, that isn't the case now. But in the response to that desertion and then the feeling of feeling of sort of abandonment, this is a place abandoned after that, was the council tried to create what was called the cafe quarter, but it turned into less a cafe quarter, but a nightclub quarter, and it was described as the Ibiza of the North by Roy George. I have to confess, I never went to any of these places to find out what it was like. Not enough Leonard Cohen records played and not enough people in corduroy jackets. But anyway, when you had there were a lot of predictions about the 2005 Licensing Act and 24-hour drinking and the idea that they would trigger a wave of alcohol-fueled violence and debauchery. But in fact, what it seems to have triggered is a wave, a new generation of teetotal people with healthy lifestyles who are early to bed and don't stay out beyond 10 o'clock. And that has changed the dynamic of the town centre. But as I say, walking up tonight, there were restaurants open, there were cafes open, there were shops open, things were still happening. It was not a wasteland by any manner of means. There have been positive initiatives in the town. I always like to cite people, anybody in the Democrat group will know that I'm going to praise the Mad Squirrel and Two Trees, Micro Pub in West Watford, which are two of my favourites. But there are also 6 excellent pubs in Oxley, and I invite you, they are all worth visiting, they're all great places to visit. And I encourage all of you to try all of them. But to get onto the serious point, yes, actually pubs can be the heart of the community. Going out and meeting people and occasions for social interaction are really important. It doesn't have to involve alcohol, but it can. For those who like that. And we have to encourage these spaces in a world where people become more isolated, where fewer of us go out to work every day. We do have to encourage these kind of opportunities for social interaction, for people to meet and talk, etc., etc. That said, I endorse what we're asking the government to do. I think too often governments tend to think of not any particular party, but all parties tend to think of alcohol as something to be taxed and the pub trade as a problem rather than a social good. And I think this council, you never have perfection. There's always a problem. There's always more to work at. But we do have entertainment, hospitality chains in Watford, as rightly been said. The council always has a role in trying to encourage things that enhance the town, and dare I say it, in making sure that in that context it remains a safe place, a place that people want to visit. There are always things that we can change. There is always more to be done. I think this motion sets out what we want the government to do and renews the council's commitment to making sure that we have a healthy hospitality industry making a positive contribution to the social and economic life of the town. And for that reason, I think it's important that we discuss this. I welcome and support the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Stisby.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, Councillor Robertson and Sharp just made such excellent points about hospitality and why it needs support. I just wanted to pick up on the loneliness point again and just say that one of the reasons why hospitality should receive that specific support is indeed to make that places for social interaction. But just on one of the parts of this motion also talks about the employer national insurance contributions and the change the government made last year. Obviously, we had a motion in this council about exactly that issue as well. It is still incredulous to me that in a time of cost of living crisis, and actually we've recently had stats that show that unemployment is rising, especially in those young people, unemployment is particularly high, almost 15%. Government has made the decision to increase the cost of hiring people at the beginning of their careers, to make the cost of low-paid workers more expensive to the employer and harder for that employee to make a decent wage. So I really urge government through this motion, and thank you, Councillor Robertson, for bringing it, to look at that employer national insurance point again And as we've motioned on previously, to look at extending that into the care and health sectors as well, because those are sectors that are also criminally affected by the change that was made to employers' national insurance contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vincent.
Yeah, Chair, I agree with most of the points that have been made on this motion. What we also need to remember as a diverse town, that we have a diverse community. There are other religious groups that live in our town, and pubs won't be a priority for them, for some of my Muslim brothers and sisters, and practicing Sikhs, which I am a Sikh, but I do use the pubs, and you can see I'm not a practicing Sikh, but hopefully one day I will make. So I don't want the motion to just be focused on pubs. There are other venues that need to be, which are mentioned in the motion. So I just want to make that point. For some of our diverse community, it will be quite high on their agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I do note and agree with a lot of what's been said here, although I do note that there's one point where you say employing national insurance rate for the hospitality industry to make it more affordable for the pubs to employ staff. But you mentioned hospitality, and I would have added, and I haven't done the amendment, other businesses and cafes, for example. I think in many places, villages and parts of our town, cafes are as important as pubs. I respect the fact that Councillor Sharp said you can go to a pub, it doesn't have to be about drinking, but I do expect tonight, as you just said, Councillor Dinser, that there are many of our colleagues here tonight who are going to find it very difficult to vote for this across party. I know who are practicing Muslims and serious practicing Christians, so I understand that, and I'm sure we take that into account when it comes to any voting. But yeah, you're right to highlight obviously the issues about pubs. Councillor Robson talks about the report by Sky News, 8 pubs are shutting each week nationally, which is nationally, and I mean also pubs. The number of pubs has fallen by nearly 7,000 since 2010, if we go back that far. That's roughly a 15% reduction, and we know that pubs have expressed concerns about the way they are valued for business rates purposes. That is being looked at. And I know that from April, every pub will get 50% of its new business rates bill on top of the support announced at the budget. And then other bills will be frozen for 2 years. But they are looking at this, and certainly business rates generally are being looked into. I don't think that it's not definite, but there's a lot being looked at here. And obviously the main issue was in the budget, the Chancellor announced that 4.3 billion package or after the budget to support businesses, including that cap to the business rate bill. So I think it is seriously being looked at. I think it's a significant step to acknowledge this and support businesses. And obviously there's been campaigns across parties and in Parliament. But obviously I think we have to take seriously what, since the pandemic, has been very difficult for the hospitality to increase. And obviously it's been hit by, therefore, and also the invasion of Ukraine, and then obviously now, unfortunately, with the invasion of Iran, the attacks on Iran, that's also now going to hit the cost of living. Consumers have changed their habits because of the increasingly working from home, shopping online, and the pandemic, as we say. It's changed and less people are going out. And as I say, the key thing to me is, yes, possibly help pubs, but I think I'm less concerned just about pubs. I think just as important are cafes and restaurants, to be honest. And there is a package coming on that, and it's not there yet. But so I wouldn't particularly, so I couldn't really support the one particular line saying reduction in alcohol duties to make enjoyment drink more affordable for you. Okay, I get to see your sentiment, Councillor Robertson, but I'm sure there'll be a point where the fine will be cut and the cost, but and even cutting VAT, that's being looked at, but I don't think it's, you could say 5%, you could say 10, some sort of holiday, but there are other works in that the government is looking at. So, as I say, I'm reluctant to fully support this. I do support more help for the hospitality industry, but again, while I, as I say, respect those who probably can't support this across party tonight, I'll probably abstain on this, while I do obviously support a lot of it in there, which helps the hospitality industry. I am wary of being seen to vote for some of the what you're proposing here. It's not just about us, obviously, it should be about cafes and the rest of the hospitality industry. And there is more work, I know, coming and help on the way in the next year and in the next budget coming up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would you like to?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd love to follow that. So I think a few points just to respond to the points that Councillor Bell made. If you look at the motion, one bullet point says cutting back for pubs, restaurants and entertainment venues. It's very clear that what we're trying to do is reduce taxation on the hospitality sector. And I think people of all faiths and none recognise how much we want to support our hospitality sector. There's a particular issue with alcohol drinks, but I think it's wrong to portray this as just about making it cheaper for council shop to have a pint. Now, Councillor Bell says Labour are, this is being looked at by the government. When I talk to local people in the hospitality sector, what they need is action from this government, rather than endless reviews, looking at things, doing a bad budget, trying to undo some of the mess that they've created. The fundamental issue at the moment is that our tax regime, and I'm sorry to sound like an ex-economics teacher, but we have a problem where we're taxing people that have a physical presence far too much, and we're taxing a lot of the online businesses far too little. Amazon pay absolute peanuts. You've got pubs up and down the country, independents are paying a lot of taxation. So if we want to support the Oxy 6 pubs, which I would highly recommend, we need to change that fundamental issue. The other thing about this council is that we're proactive. We actually want to support the town centre. So if you think about the fact we've got a cinema, we've got a bowling alley, that was due to the actions of Watford Borough Council. We're now saying we want an action plan, again, bring in the different stakeholders together to make a difference. I would pay tribute to the BID and the businesses in the town centre who do brilliant work day in, day out to support our nighttime economy and the hospitality sector. I was in the town centre on Sunday evening at a restaurant, and it was absolutely packed, not just because it was Mother's Day, but also because there was an event at the Coliseum. Again, action by our council, having the Coliseum there has definitely made a difference. Just a couple of quick things. First of all, I was very surprised that Boyd George thinks Watford's in the north, so I'm not sure what that was all about. Final things, I think it is really important that sometimes the government think having a pint in pubs and the hospitality sector generally is just, something nice, a bit niche. It's actually a really important part of the UK economy. It needs to be taken more seriously. It's really important for Watford's economy too. Hopefully we're going to be finishing fairly soon so that all of us can go and support businesses in the town centre and watch Watford, who are currently beating Wrexham, and see if that continues. So I'll be supporting this motion. And thank you to Councillor Robertson for his work bringing it forward.
Councillor Robertson, would you like to sum?
Yeah, sorry, apologies, I was just finishing typing. I would like to just thank everyone who's contributed to the motion. Just go through some specific mentions. Thank you particularly to Councillor Sharp for your contribution. You'll be relieved to know that I don't count myself amongst the rising number of young teetotalers. He's also absolutely right to recognise that in a changing society, with people working from home, there is a greater risk of loneliness, and actually part of the purpose of this motion, whether it be a cafe, whether it be a late night dessert restaurant, whether it be a pub, it's actually about creating those community spaces for people to socialise to arrest that rise in loneliness. Councillor Stokesby is right to raise the issue of employer national insurance contributions, hitting in particular youth unemployment, which there are nearly 1 million people, 950,000 people who fall into neat categories, not in education, employment or training, which is scandalous. Thank you to Councillor Lindsay. You made a really valid point about the diversity of our community. Hospitality should absolutely be for everyone. And please don't, I really don't want anyone to take from this motion that's just about pubs. It's about our entire hospitality sector within Watford. And thank you to Councillor Bell for your contribution. We are asking the government to go further and faster to arrest the decline of the general hospitality industry, both in Watford and across the country. You mentioned sort of future packages, but our pubs, our cafes, our restaurants can't wait for the vagaries of the future package. They need help, and they need help now. And I'd finally like to recognise the work Pete Taylor and the Watford Town Council have done over the years, including things like the BID, to support our town centre. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councillor Robertson. All those in favour of this motion, please show. Thank you. All those against? Thank you. Any abstentions?
No, if you're not voting.
The motion is carried. Thank you. Yeah.
Cheers. Get down the path.
One more motion to go before you go. So our last motion is on unity, unity and community cohesion in Watford during international conflict. So this motion is being proposed by Councillor Khan and seconded by Councillor Bell. I will now invite Councillor Khan to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman. I rise this evening to propose this motion on unity and community cohesion in our town. It's an important motion, and it's important as a council that we keep this agenda in the front, back, left and right at all times. And when events like this, it's important that we propose them. And frankly, if neither doesn't want to second it, it needs to be a unity motion both politically. So over recent weeks, we've witnessed a serious escalation of conflict within the Middle East following military strikes involving the United States, Israel and Iran. The consequences have been tragic. There's been loss of life, instability across the region, and growing international concern about what may come next. These events are deeply troubling for the world, but they also have deeply personal, but they're also deeply personal for many people here in Watford. We are a diverse town. Many of our residents have family, cultural or faith connections to the other part of the world. For them, the images of the news are not distant events, by far. They represent the safety of loved ones, the well-being of communities they care deeply about, and the future of places that hold personal meaning. And when conflicts of this scale occur internationally, they can sometimes create anxiety, fear, or misunderstanding locally if they're not addressed with calm leadership and a clear message of unity. That is what this motion, and that is why this motion is so important. Watford has always been a town that takes pride in its diversity. People of many faiths, backgrounds and cultures live side by side here. That diversity is not something we simply tolerate. It hasn't happened by accident. It's like decades and decades of working together. It is something that we treasure and something that we value. It enriches our town and strengthens our community, and there might be certain political factions who might envy of that and actually dislike that. Over many years, we've built that strong partnership and those strong relationships across faith communities and actually non-faith communities in Watford. Our mosques, churches, synagogues, gurdwaras, community organisations, temples work together regularly. Faith leaders know one another. I know you personally, and I count them as my personal friends. They support, and we support one another. We stand together at community events, remembrance services, and moments of solidarity. This doesn't happen, as I said, by accident, Madam Chairman. It happens because people in Watford make the effort to build trust, understanding, and friendship. I've personally seen that strength of these relationships many times. I've seen it when our synagogue leaders are standing alongside Muslim leaders at community events, when events happen that strike our communities. I'm very close to Jeremy and Alan and Mordecai from Watford Synagogue. I've seen churches working with mosques to support families in need. I remember during COVID, churches, mosques and faith groups worked together. I've seen faith leaders come together when our town has faced moments of difficulty. Watford Interfaith plays a key role in that. One Vision plays a key role. I personally visited the synagogue on Shabbat on a number of occasions, especially when the Jewish community is under threat, to show my solidarity. As a leading Muslim person within the town, it's my duty to come and support my brothers of the Jewish faith and sisters of the Jewish faith. This is something Watford should be and must be proud of. But moments of international tension remind us that we must always protect that spirit of cooperation. We recently had an iftar event in North Watford. We had the synagogue and the church came together. And it's really good. And moments like that, where international tensions remind us that we must also protect that spirit of cooperation. So this motion isn't about foreign policy. That is not the role of this council. We may have different views about foreign policy, that's not it. National governments and international bodies will debate those issues. Our responsibility here in this council is different. Our responsibility is to ensure that here in Watford, regardless of what is happening elsewhere in the world, our communities remain safe, they are respectful, and they are united. This motion, therefore, does several simple things, but important things. Firstly, it reaffirms Watford is a welcoming and inclusive town for people of all backgrounds and beliefs. Second, it commits us to continue to work with faith leaders, community organisations, and the Hearts Constabulary to maintain strong relationships and actually open dialogue. Thirdly, it encourages us to support interfaith initiatives and community events that bring people together and strengthen understanding. And finally, it sends a clear and unambiguous message that hatred, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and all forms of prejudice have absolutely no place in this town. In moments of global tension, people look to our leaders, us, local leaders, for reassurance. They want to know that their town is a place where they belong, where they're respected, and where they're safe. Watford has always been that kind of place. Our community, our strength is a community that lies in our ability to respect one another, even when events in the wider world are difficult. It lies in our ability to say clearly that we will not allow international conflicts to divide neighbours here at home. And it lies in our shared commitment to protecting the harmony and safety and cohesion of our town. Madam Chairwoman, whatever happens, unfold internationally, the people of Watford must remain united here. It reflects the values that our residents already live by every day: respect, understanding, and neighbourliness. I hope members across the chamber will support this motion and send a clear message tonight that Watford stands united, respectful, and has a community. I commend this motion to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now invite Councillor Bell to second the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I can't really follow that, and all the sentiments that Councillor Hans put forward, obviously I agree, and I hope everybody can agree on, so I won't keep us long. I mean, just to talk about community cohesion, I visited, sadly, it's the first time I did a synagogue on Mount Vernon, obviously just starting on Saturday with Asif and Matt Tomeno MP, and I know that Peter was there as well on that day, that Saturday, after the Manchester attack. That was very emotional. I think it was very, the Jewish members there were very appreciative that we obviously went there that day. And obviously that same September the 4th, we had that great meeting of all the community leaders. Peter was there again, Matt Tomeno, the MP, the Chief Constable, and again senior Jewish leaders, Muslim leaders, Hindu, someone from the community, and everyone came together. That was at the time of the issue about the flags in the summer, September 4th. And that came on, and things happened since then. And I know there's been other incidents, obviously, sadly, at the mosques and some of the graffiti and that. And again, everyone's come together on that. So I think it's very important, a clear message across the town, and that, it's not, as you've said, it's not for us here, whatever our views, to discuss foreign policy, but us to make sure that all the different communities, different religions come together to make sure we stay together, despite what's happening out there and what we see on television. So obviously, I second this motion, and I hope everybody else can support it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Do any member wish to move any amendments to this motion? Okay. Does anyone wish to speak on this motion? Okay, I have Mayor Peter Taylor, Councillor Wrighton, Councillor Radley, Councillor Mark, Councillor Bashir. Are we adding another one?
I won't say it.
Okay, no problem, that's fine.
Yeah.
Councillor Summer. Okay. Should we start who again? Have we missed any of them? Councillor. Okay, Councillor Wrighton. It's not what, okay, wasn't me, okay. No, Peter.
Thank you. I will try with 2 minutes because I know lots of people have indicated they wish to speak on this. First of all, thank you to the councillors who put this forward. I'm happy to support the motion. I think it's really important that we remain a united town. This is an issue that is really important, I'm sure, for all of us here. There are lots of things that kind of try to pull us apart, and I know that we work really hard trying to counter that and create unity in Watford. One of the things that we have initiated over the last few months is the Mayor's Faith Forum, which brings together faith leaders and actually has proved a really positive, constructive dialogue. So the first one was with the police, talking with them. As Councillor Khan said, we are fortunate in Watford to have some brilliant groups, such as Watford Interfaith Association, that just do really great work day in, day out, and I would pay tribute to them. I think the Peace Garden has actually been a really positive development over the last few years, and actually having that space in Castle Park where we're able to reflect and come together has proved really popular, really important. One thing that I would like to just mention very briefly is actually the role of the faith leaders themselves. I think that we are fortunate, and it was mentioned by Councillor Khan, to have some faith leaders who take this role incredibly seriously. I was actually at the synagogue today for one of the events for Holocaust Memorial, at the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust, and speaking there was a Holocaust survivor, and there were now only 30 or 40 Holocaust survivors left, and they did an amazing work at the synagogue. You had a number of schools present, and I know that talk will stick with those students for the rest of their lives. It's hugely impactful. And the key message, of course, was about the dangers of division, of discrimination and of hatred. And so our places of worship themselves are proactively encouraging our community to be a place where everyone's views matter and respected, and that we challenge intolerance in all its forms. And finally, I'm really pleased we've got a diverse group of councillors. I think we shouldn't underestimate our own role in this. We've got people of all faiths and none. We work by and large constructively together, but I think when there are periods of difficulty, actually, we do well to come together and show that leadership in our town. So happy to support this motion and grateful to councillors for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I am proud to live in Watford. I am proud that in the schools in Watford we have up to 60 languages spoken in one school from children who come from all over the globe, and they come to Watford because they know they will be safe and they will be in a community which will support them. I am proud that we look around this room here and we, as Councillor Taylor, Mayor Taylor said, we represent people from different backgrounds and different parts of the world. I am very proud that when the British National Party tried to disrupt our lives many years ago, that people in Watford stood up and said, no, we will not have any trust with your hostility and your violence and your hate. And I'm particularly proud, personally, because I chair the Standing Advisory Council for Religious Education. Now, I will always say about this organisation, its role is to encourage and to teach our young people in schools across Hertfordshire to have respect and understanding for all the faiths that they're living with the children in their schools. If they can understand and they can believe that actually faiths are positive causes for communities to come together, then we're on a much better wicket than when we hear some of the horrible things that come from some of the more extreme right-wing parties. So as I said, I'm very proud to be in this town with the mix of community that we have.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Rodney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's difficult to follow the previous speakers I just wanted to stand and say two things. One is pay tribute. Pay tribute to the communities and the community leaders. But what makes Watford so special is it's the community who drives what's happening out there. We as a council have been very supportive. And I think where we can take some credit is that over the years, we've put at the center of our support and finance support for the community groups. If we hadn't done that, a lot of the things that have been said today really could not have been said. So I pay tribute to Dorothy, Peter, and all our past leaders for actually giving us the leeway to do that. But Councillor Khan is right. We got to continue to support our communities. We got to continue to let them see that we work for us. Not you, not you, not me. Councillor Watkins, yes, you're right to be proud to be in Watford. In my long career in politics, I've stood a parliament candidate in Luton, in London, etc. And what you pick up when you go out there is how divided the communities are within themselves. The sections, they look after their own little group. In Watford, you don't get that. You get Watford people working for Watford, and long may they continue. I think our role, as the motion says, as leaders, is to facilitate that, pick up those little holes that do appear and help plug them. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Son.
So a lot has been said. Just a quick one really to add. As you all know, I come from Iran, and you were following the news and relatively aware of what the situation is going on since 6 months ago, I would say. So in Iran, thousands of people died on the streets, purely just because of speaking their mind out and protesting against the government. In Watford in the UK, we don't have such an issue with the human rights and front and back and side, as the Councillor Khan mentioned. You can witness diversity and all of us sitting together, and we can actually talk about any topics about religion, about politics, and this council is a very perfect example of what's out there in Watford. I also believe, as you all mentioned, there is so much going on in Watford already in terms of diversity, and so many different groups, and council being supportive of all of these groups. What I also, it makes me a bit nervous about speaking about the diversity, speaking about these topics, is we bring a bit of sensitivity to the topic. This is something already happening out there. These are conversations we already having. We're having all different faith groups, we're having all different youth groups that they're all active within the community, and the more we try to push and say, bring diversity, bring more, it's already happening. So let's just get together, we are perfect champions out there to just encourage residents to simply get involved and speak out. I had a member of the Leisure Centre who come up to me when the dictator in Iran got killed. And the night before, I witnessed many Iranians celebrating in the death of someone who people believe that he was responsible for the death of so many people. And I also had a conversation with someone who was deeply sad about the loss of a religious leader. We had a friendly conversation together, we discussed some information, I passed on some, took some away as well, and we walked away. Unfortunately, in Iran, within their own community, they're not allowed to have this conversation. I'm not able to have this conversation freely with my own family members. We will have our own one, and we're like, we start talking, we're going to have problems together. Let's just leave it as it is. So it already exists. Let's just encourage it, and in my opinion, don't bring too much of sensitivity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor.
Yeah, a lot of people have added brilliant speeches and the two motion members. So I want to repeat all that. I just I'm very proud to live in Watford as well. But I want to give you a picture of what it was like in the 70s when I came here. When I came here, I went to a language, I couldn't speak any English, and I went to a language centre in Westfield. That wasn't too bad, because that was a girls only school with a language centre in there. Then I moved on to Grange Park, where the life was very hard. Grange Park, we had a lot of South Doxy guys at Grange Park. And South Doxy in the 70s was a no-go area for black and minority athletes. And there was National Front demonstration there in the 70s, I think it was the 70s or early 80s, which I attended. And I was the only ethnic minority person. And I was pleased that there was white colleagues with me who were demonstrating against the National Front. And Grange Park, we often had to sit in lessons, planning how we're going to get to the next lesson without being attacked on our way. So I wasn't keen on boxing or martial arts. I had no choice. I had to learn boxing and martial arts to protect myself. In those days, I worked in the Watford Odeon, and I was walking home one day, and there was 4 white guys coming the opposite direction. I could hear them saying using the word, excuse my words, but these were the words that were used, that let's go packy fashion. And I thought, even though I'm okay at looking after myself, but I'm not going to take 4 guys on. So I decided to run. And I felt safer when I crossed the traffic lights on Cassia Road and Verventa Road, because I was in West Watford. And at that time, in those days, even hair breaks, Meriden, they weren't comfortable areas. Soft Oxy example, I was playing football there was only 2 Asian guys in the football team. And when I went to take a corner, and it sounded a bit funny at first. It's not funny, but the tolerance at that time, you tend to flow with your guys. When I went to take the corner, one guy said, don't let that, excuse my words again, don't let that packy take a corner, he'll open a shop. I mean, that was disgusting, and then there were the sort of things that were going on in those days. But I'm very glad that Watford has become very diverse. And I know Peter mentioned the council. Council wasn't very diverse when I came on. Before me, there was Monchin, which some of you probably don't remember, and Rashid Chowdhury, and then me and Ravi came on. And this is not a political point, but at that time, for a long time, Lib Dems were not very diverse. But I'm pleased to see the diversity in the Lib Dems now. I used to often, Ian Sharp will remember, when I was a mayor candidate, I used that at my husband's, that I would like to see the council more diverse, which I'm pleased to see it is now, with the colleagues sitting across boards, and we have similar thinking in mind. So I just wanted to add those things, what it was like in the 70s, and it has changed a lot, and I'm very proud to live in Watford. And there have been instances in Watford recently, but they are nowhere near as what there has been in Leicester, Luton and other areas where the religious places were attacked. I remember going to the Broadwater one night. We were getting together there we weren't going to take the law in our own hand, but we had to defend the religious building. We would inform the police if there was going to be any attack. I remember spending the night there a few years ago to defend that place when there were attacks on religious buildings, which is not acceptable, no matter what the political situation is in the world. We should not take out any action against people's colour, gender, or religion. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, a lot of my points have already been raised by members very eloquently, so I thank them, and also thank Councillor Todd for bringing this really, really important motion. But I would like to say just a few words. So for me, Watford is for me being in Watford is something I'm very proud of because of the diversity, because of different cultures and facing backgrounds, people living side by side in great harmony. I think the point I really want to make is that, I think Peter's already said it, a lot of the great work about the community cohesion has been done by the faith leaders, it's been done by the Watford Faith Association, it's been done by genuine community leaders. But I think let's not underestimate the work on diversity that we as political leaders and faith leaders of the council have done over many, many years. If you look at diversity, just look across this council chamber. This is very reflective of the multicultural and diverse community that we live in. We've got an African lady here who's the chairman of the council. We've got a former Caribbean, who's been a former chairman of the council.
And myself.
I'm going to go around. I'm going to be the next chair of the council from Pakistani Kashmiri Muslim background. We've had a Sikh who's been a previous chairman of the council, and many across the board, and Councillor Khan, and just look at the diversity of this place. So we, I think, also need to give credit to ourselves as well, because we have led the leadership so far as that community cohesion is concerned. That's really important.
We are the Lib Dem. Can you explain that?
We, Lib Dems, Labour, it's cross-party, I would say. I think there's been good leadership shown across the board, and we've set the tone for the diversity and the community cohesion of this town. And, you know, I've been going to lots of sort of events, being invited by faith groups, and this year we've had a lot of iftar events where the mayor has been. We've had cross-party councillors coming to these events, people from religious backgrounds, non-religious backgrounds, actually from different cultures, meeting together, talking. So I think we are a very proud council in that respect. I think there's a lot of good work that's been done by lots of different people. But let's not underestimate the great work and the tone that's been set by the political leadership of this town over many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor
Thank you. Lots of what I want to say has been said, so I will just say the following. Thank you, everyone, for all your speeches and for the colleagues for bringing this motion. I want to build on the words of our colleague, Councillor Sullivan. The best way that we can stand up to dictators internationally and those who are taking illiberal action around the world and to stand up against the erosion of international law is to continue to do what we do best and has been mentioned so much. It's to embrace everyone in our community with empathy, to embrace and celebrate our freedom of speech, to celebrate our freedom of expression and also our right to protest and assemble peacefully. We do that in Watford incredibly well, we should be incredibly proud of it, and we should continue to do those things to show that they work and to show that illiberal action around the world is fundamentally wrong and flawed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dyson.
Thank you. It's a great privilege to sum up the discussion tonight by the members across the chamber, and as a portfolio holder for community, it's a real opportunity for me to say, I think we have all of us that it's not the title making us to engage with people, but those individuals who are living in Watford day in and day out, and they making the town a beautiful, diverse and inclusive, enabling us, those who has an opportunity to make the life easier for them, to stand tonight and talk about it. And as Councillor Khan mentioned, the conflict across the world, it's really disturbing for many, and we are very grateful and very fortunate to have such a wonderful community and us playing the part of it. But that's what we built across many, many years, has been said. But I would like to acknowledge that it's not just the conflict what bringing us together. We have unpaid carers, we have women with difficult relationships, we have a domestic abuse happening across the different diversity, and it's part of our daily work at the same time. So whatever happening, Watford always stands in solidarity and stands still and strong. And that's what makes all of us proud to be the Watford councillors for many, many years. Thank you.
Councillor Khan, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Chair. I think, can I just thank Councillor Nigel Bell, Taylor, I'm going to give Mark Watkin a round of applause. I didn't miss as well. Come on, guys, be gracious when people are speaking. Councillor Ravi Martin, Stan, Councillor Stan, Summer, Jack Tarr, Steve Dinser, my colleague, for his actual lived experience with what's happened. My older brother's father used to discuss a lot of what happened growing up in Watford during the 70s and 80s. Councillor Habersham, my dear colleague, Ian, thank you for your contributions to this debate. I'm just going to end on, as I said, on something which may be counter to the ethos of this. As part of leadership, and I think Sam sort of mentioned it, that we need to be leaders in how to have political discourse in a democratic framework. Because at the moment, we are seeing within the UK political discourse giving division deliberately to stoke up hatred for political gain. And it's coming from some of the far right, and it's also coming, unfortunately, also to the far left. And we just got to make sure that we, as leaders, part of the integrated view of communities, how to engage in political discourse in a democratic framework. You might differ about something, but it's how you differ. And it's through unity, and we have values which share about that. And that might be slightly different to what I'm trying to of this thing, but it's really important. So when young people are understanding that you might have a different issue about a political issue, you can have those views, but it's how that difference occurs. And the other thing which I didn't mention here, but we've got to be very careful, and something which I'm working with, or trying to work with the government, is these damn algorithms on social media that are radicalising population and are causing more damage and harm than traditional vocal stuff. I mean, these algorithms are deliberate, not by accident, deliberate to create strife and difference. And Brexit, unfortunately, was one of the first playbooks of these algorithms and how they radicalise certain a section of that community during. We all know what happened during using the use of Facebook and these algorithms. We've just got to be careful about those as well. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you'll support the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, please. Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. So on the last item of the agenda, you want to know. And it's on the Crosby Business Park, annual business plan.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you. Council has received a report, and the minutes from Cabinet is in the agenda pack. Before we proceed to this debate, I wish to remind members that one document is exempt from the public. If members wish to discuss the specific content of the document, we will need to agree to the exclusion of the press and public and stop the live webcast. However, initially I will ask that we discuss the publicly available report. I will invite Councillor Hill to move recommendations from the Cabinet. You have up to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased to introduce the annual business plan for Croxley Business Park. This has been reviewed and approved by Cabinet on the 2nd of March. For those in the room who are unfamiliar, Croxley Business Park is the Council's largest asset and was purchased back in 2019. COVID did have a demonstrable impact on the letting sector, which does still persist, and in part there was an ongoing reduced demand for lettings, and particularly office space. However, predicted lettings over the next 2026-27 year show that demand is increasing for office space, and the industrial units on the site have been in high demand. The annual business plan does have a focus on increasing lettings and ensuring that refurbishments are done on a necessary basis, along with our statutory health and safety requirements and some investment to update facilities, which is outlined in the business plan. The performance of Croxley Business Park is reviewed quarterly with our lettings agents, and I won't add anything further, but that's the outline of the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd just like to second it and very, very briefly say thank you to Councillor Hill for her work on this and officers and others involved with Croxley Business Park. We have, as was mentioned, we have seen good growth in the number of lettings, with new businesses moving in, existing ones expanding, which is really positive. And just one final thing that I'd like to emphasise with Croxley Business Park, many of us received reports showing the huge social benefit that they do there. I think we often forget that obviously it's a really important place for our local economy, but it also supports local schools, community events, a space for charities, increasingly used. We've even got 6 beehives. So it's important for our social benefit and the environment, as well as being an important economic asset in the town.
Thank you. So does anyone wish to speak on the public document? On the public one, yes. Does anyone wish to comment on the Part B document? So under section, okay. Could I invite Councillor Hill to exercise her right of the plan? Oh. Thank you. So the recommendation is to approve the capital investments detailed in the business plan officer's report. All those in favor? Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Can I just thank everyone this evening? This is my last full council. And I really, honestly, from the depth of my heart, I really want to say what an honor and privilege it's been to lead this council for the past 1 year. I've really enjoyed the support you've given me, and I hope that you extend the same support to Councillor Bashir when he is to sit over here. There was something Councillor Sommer said when he was speaking. He said, coming here over 20 years ago, he never knew he would be standing to make that speech. And the same applies to me. I never knew when I came here about 12, 13 years ago that I would be making this speech tonight. So that's why I take it as a privilege, an honor of my life. And I want to thank all the officers. I want to thank Liam, I want to thank Donna. It's been really helpful over this year. It's been so easier for me to do this job. And finally, I want to thank someone that is standing here today. His name is Dr. Pasi Amarebu. He's my pastor for over 30 years. His wife was here for my inauguration. He couldn't make it. So he's today in UK for pastoral duty. And he decided to come and see what his little girl is up to. So today, he's so happy to be here to observe what has happened today. Thank you, sir, for all the work you've done for me. Thank you so much.
Standing for the chairman.